Hello mga ka-learners! You're now in the last lesson for the module, A Language of Our Own. Before you end this module, there is one final lesson you need to study. It is true that the Philippines must have a national language. We must all work together to achieve this goal. But we must not do so at the expense of forgetting or taking for granted other languages or dialects spoken in the country. The national language must not be used as an instrument with which to shut off other cultures or other people. It is important for you to understand that although it is very important that you learn to speak our national language, this does not mean it is the only language you should speak. Speaking in English or in your mother tongue does not mean you are not nationalistic or that you honor our national language less. You can learn to speak the national language, value your mother tongue, and be fluent in English at the same time. In this lesson, we will discuss the importance and the functions of the different Filipino dialects and languages, as well as our secondary language, English, in our lives as Filipinos. Look at this photo. What is the picture trying to show you? Do you believe that what is portrayed in the picture is really happening in our country today? How? Is the situation being portrayed in the picture good or bad for us and for our country? The Filipino superhero represents the Filipino language. The superhero with the word English on its chest represents the English language. The picture shows how Filipino is taking the center stage. It is pushing the English language out of the scene. This illustrates how the Filipino language is becoming the sole medium of communication in the Philippines. Although English is still widely used in the country today, Filipino is becoming the most favored medium of communication. The issue on the use of Filipino as the sole medium of instruction over English seems to be a never-ending debate. So-called patriotic citizens and nationalists call for unity and national pride through the use of Filipino as the sole medium of communication in the whole country. They argue that countries like Japan, China, and others were able to achieve economic progress without the aid of the English language. On the other hand, these countries are now eager to learn the English language. They see English as a tool in today's age of information. Advances in technology and science are written in English. Therefore, if you want your country to be globally competitive, English is the language to learn. Aside from this, it is the English language skills of our Philippine labor force that attracts foreign investors. Even our overseas foreign workers, OFWs, have a competitive edge over those from other countries because of their English-speaking skills. The bilingual education policy of the then Department of Education, Culture, and Sports, DEX, was first implemented in 1974. It was again promulgated in compliance with the 1987 Constitution. The bilingual policy involves the use of both English and Filipino as mediums of instruction in schools all over the country. The bilingual policy implies that English is still recognized as a useful and important medium of communication in the country. Despite the existence of Filipino, the official national language, English is still widely used in the country today. Do you know why? English was, after all, our first national language. Filipinos have used it for many, many years, and it has taken root in our culture and consciousness. It is used in media like television, newspapers, and radio. It is used in entertainment. It is used in official proceedings and functions, in courtrooms, in the Senate, in government offices, and in business transactions. It is also the language of science, mathematics, and technology. English is considered the international language, and we cannot deny its importance. We cannot use Tagalog, Filipino, or any of our dialects to communicate with people from different parts of the world. but English is used and understood in many countries all over the world, and people all over the world understand each other through it. The countries that use the English language cover almost half of the total land area of the world. Also, more and more Filipinos are going abroad to work. They are called Overseas Filipino Workers or OFWs. They go to work in other countries as laborers, household servants, entertainers, and even as professional workers. They help generate income for our country. How could they survive in foreign countries if they do not know how to speak English? There are many other instances where knowledge of the English language is important. Another example is when you are using a computer to get information from the internet. Did you know that 80% of all computer websites on the internet are English? The internet is fast becoming a major force in world business and relations. It is now the greatest source of information that people all over the world can access. What a great loss to Filipinos if they cannot make use of this information source because they cannot understand English. Also, we will not be able to keep in touch with the latest advances in science and technology if we have a poor command of English. Most researches and journals on these matters are, after all, written in English. Now that we have a national language, should we let go of English completely? If you take the English language away, our culture would suffer a terrible loss. It would be like pulling a leg off of our national identity. English is a part of our past, our culture, and our identity as Filipinos. It is, furthermore, the international language. It is the key that can open doors for us in international relations and political growth. Why should we throw it away? As of today, English is still a very powerful language in the country. You must learn to speak it if you want to improve your career and your life. When applying for a job, for instance, it would be an extra point for you if you can speak English fluently. Let's look at this photo. What does the picture portray? Do you think what is shown in the picture is good for us and for our country? Why or why not? The picture shows the English language and Filipino, the national language, shoving aside a superhero with dialect written on his chest. He represents the many local dialects spoken in different parts of the Philippines. This means that because of the great importance we place on English and Filipino, we are setting aside or rejecting our local languages and dialects. What is shown in the picture is not good for us and for our country. Our dialects are as important as English and Filipino. They have their own functions and roles. They should be given as much importance as the other two. Our native tongue and local languages and dialects make us feel special. They are part of our personalities and our heritage. They tell you about the places we come from and the culture of our people. How do you say "I love you" in your native tongue? Ilocano, "Ay ayaten ka." Pangasinense, "Inorota ka." Cebuano, "Ginahigugma ko ikaw." Kapampangan, "Kaluguran da ka." Hiligaynon, "Pinalangga kita." Maranao, "Pekabayaan aken sa ka." Tausug, "Mabaya ako ka imo." Magindanawan, "Engkalinggian ko seka." Tagalog, "Mahal kita." Just as there are many different ways to express love, so there are many beautiful ways Filipinos can express themselves through their local dialects. The Philippines is made up of many different groups of people with many beautiful but different cultures. Our dialects are representations of these diverse cultures. If we give up our dialects, it is like turning our backs on our cultural identities and heritage. Learning how to speak Filipino and English may be the key to national development, but preserving the different dialects is the key to preserving our heritage. This includes native songs and dances, folk tales, beliefs, traditions, and others. All efforts must be made to preserve our heritage by translating them in Filipino and propagating them through the different parts of the country. Regional languages and provincial dialects are important because they remain the lingua franca or common language outside of Metro Manila. If you live in the province, it is the language you use at home. It is the language you are most familiar with and find easiest and most comfortable to speak every day. Because of this, most probably you express yourself best in this language. Be proud of your dialect. It is the embodiment of your cultural and traditional roots. Do not be ashamed to speak it in public, but neither should you brag about it, judging other dialect-speaking groups as inferior. We live in a culturally diverse country. Each and every different dialect and culture is precious and beautiful, however different each may be. Let's see what you have learned so far. Look at this photo and interpret its meaning. This is how Filipino, English, and the local languages and dialects should be. One should not be considered better than the other. All are equally important. If they are allowed to work together, they can help us improve our lives and our country. Let's summarize what we have learned so far. It is important for you to keep in mind that although you must learn, speak, and appreciate our national language, you should also do the same for English and the other languages and dialects spoken in the country. They are equally important and serve useful functions that can help us improve our lives and our country. There it is, mga ka-learners. We have completed the module and learned so much about the history of our national language, its importance, as well as the importance of other languages in the country. We know that a national language is important for any free country, and we must take pride in our national language as well as our native tongue. Kaya salamat mga ka-learners at hanggang sa muli nating pagkikita.